All right, Pangburn universe, we are live. What up? What up? Say hello when you get into the room. Make sure you drop a like. Today, we're going to be talking about the hard problem of consciousness. We'll talk a little bit about the easy problem as well. But say hello when you get in. I want to give you guys a link where we do our daily discussions on Call In. Call In is a new social podcasting app. I want you guys to check it out. It's they have a like absolute free speech policy, which is why we've moved the daily shows over to the Call In app. It's hard for us to do live discussions on any platform that are going to stifle freedom of speech. So we have moved our daily shows over to this Call In app. I gave you guys the link there. So yeah, do join us. We are live every single day. We have a daily show happening there. Some days we have 2 shows going on. So please do join us. I'm going to let everyone on Discord know that I am live. Actually, I'll share with everyone. Say hello when you get into the room. Make sure you drop a like. Where is my Discord window? There it is. This topic has come up a lot in our evening discussions on Discord. And it's one of my favorite topics. Get these shares out there. How are you guys doing? What's new? We're going to get started on the topic in just a minute here. I feel a little bit of a cold coming on. I hope it's short-lived, if it is that. The hard problem of consciousness. That's what we're talking about today. Sharing to make sure everyone has a chance. Make sure you guys drop a like when you get into the room. What up, Dan? Welcome, welcome. I am your welcome wagon. Put that there. Make sure you guys drop a like when you get into the room. We are live. Fuck you, Dal. God, I still have a headache of trying to talk semantics with Dal regarding consciousness last night. I think we went until 1 a.m. or something. Fuck you, Dal. Like that smash button. Exactly, Dan. Drop a like when you guys get into the room. We're talking about the hard problem of consciousness today. Now, let's make this simple to begin with. Now, I swear, if I want to focus on the hard problem of consciousness, we'll talk about the easy problem a little bit, but don't you fucking dare keep trying to smuggle this conversation over to the easy problem of consciousness. I will pull my hair out live on the stream. I'll get naked if you guys do that. Don't do this to me. Okay. The easy problem of consciousness is looking at the functionality of the brain and learning to understand the functionality of the brain. Oh, this thing's lighting up and that thing and this and that and the other. Uh, the physiological elements that we have discovered thus far are dealing with the easy problem of consciousness. Okay. The easy problem being like brain functionality up to a certain point, and we're going to get up to the certain point, the hard wall, the hard problem of consciousness that we must contend with. Some people are happy to say, "Oh no, that's just like where metaphysics begins." It's like, yeah, that's fine and dandy for us to conceptualize it as such, but as a materialist, I find it to be an insufficient answer for us to say uh, the metaphysical exists, it's the world of concepts, and we have no physiological explanation for what it is. Now, we have to, yeah, Dal, you're right. So this idea of consciousness really refers to, and I don't like the term consciousness. I don't like it, but essentially we should just call it experience. Um, so the hard problem of consciousness is trying to figure out how and how experience can be born out of an object, how an object can give rise to experience. Okay, our nervous system functions the way it does. We map its functionality. And for some reason, it gives rise to the subject, the mind, um, the world of concepts, metaphysical things. Why can't I measure those things objectively? Damn it. This is the hard problem of consciousness. We live in physical reality. And we have this hard problem of trying to figure out what experience is, because it's not physical, it's metaphysical. That's why we had to create the term after physics, metaphysics. So what's going to be a sufficient answer? Well, essentially, the periodic table of the mind is the answer. We need to find the periodic table of experience. I know that sounds crazy, but imagine this. Imagine one day that we start doing very detailed studies at a very, very small scale, like at the quantum mechanical scale of the brain, and then we get into the cortex and we find, oh, okay, all of a sudden we find this, we stumble upon this strange thing, this strange interaction, and we actually find a particulate representation of experience. Dan, bacteria have feelings, but do they have experience? Ooh. It's an interesting question. When it when a bacteria feels something and reacts to it, does it experience it, or is there no experience born out of that interaction? Krabby Patified says, if my gut bacteria has feelings, they will not be happy today. Must have had Chipotle. So someone like Dan Dennett um, is going to say, that consciousness is functionally definable, like what we're already doing right now. Like we're saying, okay, oh yeah, consciousness is like this, like awareness, man, or like consciousness is like uh just the experience we're having. That's fine from a metaphysical, uh, conceptual way of attempting to explain something, but it's insufficient scientifically. This is where the hard problem comes in. It's insufficient. Um, well, and part of the reason being is that it might not be. And Daniel Dennett's kind of right that it, and he's putting his bet in this column, and that uh, it might not be physically measurable, and I think he's putting his bet there based on what we've discovered so far. And that just might be the nature of minds. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think um I think that we will have a way to map the metaphysical world one day by measuring physical states. And um and i and I think this is going to come as we kind of expand um our ability to look deeper quantum mechanically into what's going on in the cortex of the brain. Now, for my second book, I am commissioning two particular studies where I want to look at, and these are and this is this is very hard to you know it, it's very hard to tell exactly what you're looking for, but um and I don't want to give it away too much, but looking at the cortex in the brain, a certain area in the cortex, um where I believe that experience is fundamentally born. you know it's I think there is a quantum mechanical answer in a very specific area, and we haven't studied it. We just haven't. No insane person like myself has come along and said, I want to look at that level, at that particular area of the brain quantum mechanically. Um, so, what do we do? Do we have to shove someone's head in a particle accelerator? Kind of. Is it going to be my head? Probably. Um, but but it's a beautiful thing for me to imagine a periodic table of experience where we will be able to measure someone's brain state at some point and say, oh, we now understand their experience, we understand their phenomenology, and now we can make a we can make prescriptions based on their actual experience instead of relying on the subject to communicate their experience to us. And this is of um and this is of particular interest to me because I wish to maximize well-being for myself and those around me. I'm a well-beingist. And I think if we can figure out something here, something to solve this hard problem of consciousness. Um, we can help people much more effectively. There's so many things that clinical psychologists are forced to wrestle with when they look at when they look at when they interact with the subject, and that subject is delivering this information through so many different biases and different things, trying to communicate their experience. Well-being is a a negotiation between functionality and feeling good. And of course, what we're talking about today is not functionality. Functionality is the easy problem of consciousness, the functionality of the brain. Oh, brain tumor pressing on this area. This is functionality. Um, brain aneurysm. Feeling good, feeling well is what we're talking about today. Yeah, Conrad, I'd like to avoid the radiation thing. But of course, this is going to take some different ways of measurement. Luckily, in Vancouver, we have um, one of the most powerful electron microscopes on the planet, and also we do have a small particle accelerator here. Um, Dal's saying electroshock therapy. I'm going to take that as him uh, volunteering. So Dal, everyone write this down. Dal Tzu has just volunteered to be the subject in this experiment. Looking forward to that, Dal. Thank you for volunteering. So let me read through some of you guys' comments here. Joss Renfro says, okay, now this is a classic thing when we're talking about this topic. It says, I feel like consciousness is the rapid adjustment of thought that we can specifically communicate to others. A deer will alert others deer to danger, but can't explain why or pass on the story. Okay, you're talking about what consciousness feels like to you as a concept. That's not the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem of consciousness, it's true that it may be the case that building relatable conceptualizations, it may be the best we can do, born out of experience. But the scientific dream is to bridge the mind body gap, right? So, yeah, anyone can sit down and say, oh, yeah, I mean, I think consciousness is like general awareness, or this awareness of that is an experience is happening. It's like, yeah, that's all just like, yeah, that's poetry, right? That's in the realm of metaphysics, yes. But the hard problem of consciousness is um trying to find the substance, the object of mind, the object of experience. Like I said, imagine it as the periodic table of experience. Oh, this particle makes triggers an experience objectively of, like, let's say it's a love interaction, right? And then we actually find that, like, oh, love, this feeling of love that we've conceptualized, we got to adjust the concept a little bit, but objectively love is this strange particle and that strange particle interaction, and then we can measure that in brains. And then when someone says, I'm in love with the cocoa, we look into their mind and see if they're in fact in love with the cocoa. That's the dream. The figuring out the thorn in my side says, what if the experience periodic table never ends? Yeah. I mean, all of these what ifs are uh are good questions. I mean the amount of you know some kind of matter structure is unlimited in its complexity as well, right? In the sense of like you could always stack more matter onto it. Um, the thorn in my side says, "Sound like the cure for the skepticism is to reverse engineer the brain in a vat." Well, I mean, we've tried. We're working on this in neuroscience, right? We're finding more and more interesting things of cataloging the brain, but we're not any closer to measuring experience, right? The only way we can measure experience is to ask the subject, right? And how accurate is that? Well, clinical psychology shows us that like it's kind of accurate, but people aren't really good at you know really nailing down even being able to communicate what the problem is. And this takes really skillful approaches, CBT and different methods we've created to infiltrate the mind to help the subject, right? Um, but yeah, like people like Daniel Dennett say that this is a frivolous endeavor. He believes that we are going to find that the mind will have no physical representation. Simply explaining its functionality is going to be the best we can do. John Boy says consciousness is evidence of a metaphysical soul that exists beyond the physical reality. No, I won't prove it. Make sure you guys drop a like when you get into the room. Let's see how high we can make that like button fly. Um, Prove it, John. Metaphysical soul. I mean, you can metaphysical soul, sure. I mean, metaphysically, anything exists, right? Anything's possible. Imagine it, it exists metaphysically. I'm imagining Michael Jackson flying around the universe, and he finds a planet that when he flies by it, instead of him going, hee hee, it echoes that to him. So I imagine that it exists metaphysically. Dan Buckley says every answer will be subjective, but fun to parry about. See, that's the thing. It doesn't. Everyone's like, so many people have given up on it, right? Because we haven't gotten there yet. They've given up on it and said, you know, it will always be metaphysical. I think Dan Dennett has given up. I don't think we should give up. Trying to understand electromagnetism, trying to understand, hey, here's one. Well, fire, fire does this, fire does that. We measure fire. Okay, well then what is smoke? Smoke. Oh, it's just the emergent quality of the fire. No, but what is smoke? Smoke is a collection of tiny unburnt particles. Very small, tiny droplets of tar. That's what smoke is. Now, people say the same thing about the brain. Oh, what's the brain? Oh, here it is. We got it. Functionality, everything. Oh, the precentral sulcus, the central sulcus, the a post-central gyrus. We have this understanding. We understand the functionality. 100 billion neurons. We have it. Look at this. We got it. Look at it. So we understand the object very, quite clearly, but experience being born out of the object, that's the key. We need to figure out how this can happen. This is why people like Lawrence Krauss say, I'm not talking about consciousness. That's too spooky. That's too. I'll stick to quantum mechanics. Lawrence will not talk about consciousness. It's too spooky. It's too like whatever you feel, because that's what it is right now, right? Consciousness is this realm of like, feelings. We write poetry about consciousness. We say, oh, the awareness of our experience, fine and dandy. Demonstrate it to me. um yeah, and then people get into questions like, are you conscious right now? um and you know can you demonstrate that you're conscious right now? Well, in the colloquial sense, we can't. Like someone gets knocked out in a fight, we say they're unconscious. So essentially what they're saying is experience is shut down. Oh God, here comes Dal too. You don't know what smoke really is. We have a good model of smoke, Dal, and the claim is that we can always update the model as we find more information that might relate to our model of smoke. Christian Fernandez says, like I said up there, Christopher Alexander studied something pretty similar in architecture that led to great theories in architecture that are used even in programming. My last spam. Thanks, Christian. Cool, cool. Make sure you guys drop a like when you get into the room. We are chilling. Masha says, even women exist metaphysically. Yes, they do. Women are the metaphysical uh, female. At least that's what that term has become, I think. Um, so yes, hard problem. Throw some more ideas out there. What do you guys try to deal with? Thinking about what we could discover uh, physically, not just your poetry about. I think consciousness feels like a togetherness. Like that's not what the hard problem of consciousness is. What are some experiments we could do to find the periodic table of experience? The the experience particle and how it, you know, maybe how it interacts with the other fundamental forces, right? So we have I'm going to read a little bit about um non-reductionism in this topic of hard problem of consciousness. All non-reductionists believe that the explanatory gap is genuine, but some non-reductionists argue that the gap is compatible with physicalism. Non-reductionist physicalists, the gap reflects something about our perspective on the world, not the world itself. These philosophers hold that consciousness is an entirely physical phenomena, and thus that phenomenal truths are nothing over and above physical truths, even though phenomenal truths cannot be deduced from microphysical truths or the sorts of truths that Mary learns from her lectures. So, um, phenomenology, looking into experience. um, you know, what why people experience what they experience. What is experience like? This is kind of like looking ontologically into experience, into the hard problem of consciousness. Ah, Masha, very good question. This is very good question. Where is the seat of consciousness? Why do we sometimes get a gut feeling? Yeah, these are good questions in our experiences. I think this concept of gut feeling is I think it's this like interconnectivity between all of these concepts relating to like things that can upset our stomach or make us hungry or make us want to drive towards something. You get that pit in your stomach when you've heard some devastating news, and you would normally like want to and some people will get that pit and want to like shy away, but others will like want to click and find exactly um, more information what's going on despite that pit in our stomach. Conrad says, experience is just a chemical reaction to external world received by received by our sensors. Uh, Experience is just a chemical reaction. Show us that chemical reaction, Conrad. You have to understand, Conrad. This is a common error when approaching this problem. When you say experience is just a chemical reaction, show me the experience. Show it to me. This is the hard problem of consciousness. To simply explain away the problem by saying, "Oh, the chemical reaction and neurophysiological stuff that gives rise to experience." Yeah, that's probably the case. Show me the experience. That's the hard problem. No, no, Conrad. Brain scans don't show us experience. You're missing it. Cardinal, electrical impulses. That doesn't deal with the hard problem of consciousness. We can measure these you guys are dealing with the easy problem of consciousness. You have to focus on, okay, you can say like, okay, the experience seems to be born out of these physiological interactions. Where's the experience? Show me where it is. No, again, you guys you get so Dan, again, yeah, you said no, Conan, is that you experience anxiety as a result of biochemistry. Cool, interesting idea. Show me the experience physiologically, not born of the subject, um, not what the subject reports to you. Show me the experience physically. That's the hard problem of consciousness. Um, you're saying the experience is anxiety? No, you can measure anxiety, but you're not measuring the experience of anxiety. You have to ask the subject. Dao Tzu is in line with Carnal. Carnal says, "Why bother? It just is." Well, I'm glad human beings have not had your attitude when it comes to uh, discovering what is going on in reality. Right? We wouldn't have, you know, the standard model of elementary particles. We wouldn't have, um, you know, um, Tzu says, I think the experience is software based in our brain, non-physical. Yeah, and Tzu, that's consistent with what Dan Dennett thinks. Like the best we can do is explain the functionality. But again, I think that's still a non. Like if someone says, like we are physical beings in a physical world, right? And if someone says, there's nothing physical to experience, it gets a special pass. They're kind of giving up. Carnal sus means suspect. Yeah, that's a good point, Dal. When we talk about the experience of colors, right? And that's a and it's a beautiful thing. um, yeah, it's a beautiful thing about reality as we see it right now. In that each new state of experience, every qualia, um, is unique. It's one thing about minds is that it seems to be the case that, and qualia, it just refers to imagine like an individual instance of experience. That's what we're trying to find in the hard problem of consciousness when measuring the brain. Where is qualia? Where's the like the if you will a particulate representation of experience? And then say billions of these happen, you know, every second of these brain computations that go on, and qualia is it emerges at the end of it. But where is that qualia? Can we measure it? I think this is the biggest mystery of all. I think people find it so dumbfounding that they try to explain it away metaphysically and they don't want to wrestle with it. Um, and Sometimes people have come to hold a positive belief that there will be no physical explanation for the mind body problem. But this is the big one. This is the big game. Like I was saying, people like Lawrence Krauss say, I don't even want to touch consciousness. I don't want to talk about it. It's too weird. It's too mysterious. As far as we know right now, it's non-physical, right? The mind is metaphysical. Um, so physicists, of course, they got nothing to work with, right? Metaphysics is the realm of possibility. Anything's possible, right? I can imagine a married bachelor. I just did. Carnal says an experience must be shared to be qualified. No, no, not at all. I think what's happening is you have billions of experiences, billions of qualia happening every second in your, in your mind. And that gives us this uh, seemingly seamless experience, three-dimensional experience. We could say four-dimensional, as we do have a concept of time. Um, so yeah, that's the real. That's when we get down to it, man. Inside the cortex, inside of like experience, awareness and experience in there. Being aware of an experience. Where is the qualia? David Smith says you are confusing metaphysics and modality. Mary Boucher's are contradictions. If you say they are possible, you are no longer using classical logic. Um, okay, let's work through this. You are confusing metaphysics and modality. Married bachelors are contradictions. Yeah, contradictions can exist metaphysically. So what's your problem? If you say they are possible, you are no longer using classical logic. Yeah, classical logic, it's possible. Classical logic is wrong. David, if you think it's impossible that classical logic is wrong, then you are putting absolute certainty in ape logic, which is a mistake as a thinker. No, you don't have to you don't have to view classical logic in that way. It depends on it comes down to what your epistemological standard of truth is. If you were to say there are contradictions, you're using some uh, paraconsistent logic. Um, yeah, you don't have to you don't have to view classical logic in that way. Impossibility, impossibility. It's a mistake, by the way. Yeah, Dal, you're right. There are logics other than classical logic that carry truth value and make predictions. Therefore, classical logic is not exclusively true. Yeah, anyone who buys into logic in any form as absolutely, impossible or possible, you are making a grave error as a thinker. This absolutism must be, uh, you know, clarified and eliminated. Masha says, is the mind entirely and only in the body? Is astral travel a real experience? What about lucid dreaming? Are we conscious in those instances? Yeah, this is a good question. My favorite chapter thus far in my second book that I'm writing deals with, it apply my pleasure drive theory looks at dreaming and what sleep is. Um, what parts of the brain minimize during sleep and are high functioning while alert and oriented? I just don't know. Yeah, I mean, you could look at what we have update. David says, no, 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 no. Nobody is saying that. I'm pointing out that you are departing from classical. You're fine with that, then fine. Um, yeah, interpretation of logical systems. You can use systems uh, in ways outside of their, maybe authored parameters. That's another mistake. You can say, you could say, David, from your interpretation of what classical logic must be, including that contradictions would by default be impossible. You could say it from that perspective, but again, uh, I challenge you to instead of enforcing a an absolutist view of interpretation of classical logical theory, work with the subject you're dealing with. Blue Ginger Purple says solipsism is answer. You are all in my head. Yeah, solipsism is just giving up. Solipsism, you're using an epistemological standard of truth within your epistemology triangle that eliminates any usefulness. So just go. So instead of throwing out everything and claiming solipsism, go into your epistemological standard of truth and dial down the truth requirements in that epistemological framework to a place where you can start using epistemology again, or else you're just like then you have no knowledge concepts. Um, you know, but you do know things. That's you act as though you do know things. Like you reach for your glass because you know it's there to have a drink, right? You would argue that you only know it to a certain degree. That's fine. I'm saying dial down the epistemological standard of truth to that degree, so you can still use epistemological framework. Um, Epistemology, Joss. Yeah, yeah, and Carnal, I think absolutism, you know, uh, us as thinking apes, all of our absolutism, all it does is add worry and anxiety. People think they need to be absolute about something, like let's say their God belief. It adds this layer of worry and anxiety because that thing you are absolute about, if you come into contact with another human being that's going to challenge that, you have, instead of saying, you know what, it could be wrong, like let's have a conversation about it, you're automatically defending uh the absolutism. Like you're always in this defense of that thing. So it's like you can um it's very it's simply for a lack of trying that people don't get to the point with like God belief and like, belief in how long their relationship will last with their wife or their spouse. Like you could really say like, I have good reasons to believe right now that we're going to have a long, healthy relationship, but it might not work out in the end. Some people can't say that. They're like, no, I have to believe it will always work out. And they get anxiety and they start breathing. And it's like, no, you don't need that. It's a myth. We don't need to be absolute. It's like a question I ask in my book I'm writing right now. It's like, are you absolutely certain that you will love your children tomorrow? Try to wrestle with that question, any parents out there. Or if you don't have kids, are you absolutely certain that you will love your mother tomorrow? You know, ask yourself what love means as a concept, and then look at the concept of love that you have for your mother or your children. Um, and are you absolutely certain that you will love them tomorrow? Think about that one clearly, because think about what can happen from now until tomorrow. Hey, Tycho, thanks for stopping by. Make sure you drop a like, guys. I'm going to give you guys a resource here. You can look a little more in depth to the hard problem of consciousness. And remember, the easy problem of consciousness is what we have sorted out thus far and what we keep working on with regards to functionality of the brain. Here's a link for you guys. Um, so don't get confused with like what you feel consciousness is with. No, in science we hope to be able to measure and create, like as an example, the periodic table of experience. um so yeah, that would be my question for you guys to wrestle with tonight. Leave me your answers in the comment section below, because I'm fascinated by how people answer this question. Think about the thing you love the most in your life. almost all of us have a concept of love. And if you have to say extremely like, that's okay too. Will you extremely like or love that thing, that person tomorrow? Are you absolutely certain of that? And keep in mind what can happen from now until tomorrow. It really outlines a lot of um, how committed you are to your own uh, to any absolutism you might have. I know when I ask this question to many mothers, they will say, there's very few things that I can be absolutely certain about, but I know with absolute certainty that I will love my children tomorrow. Um, but of course, you might be dead tonight. And can you still love your children when you're dead? And if you believe you can, why do you believe that? Anyways, thank you guys so much for stopping by today. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Give me your responses to that question in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this stream, please share. Consider subscribing to the channel. We will be live on call in tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Don will be running a conversation about um, positive, the positive atheist claim, which will be fascinating. I might also stream that here, but I hope you guys join us on call in and call in to the show. I'm going to give you guys the call in link here so you guys have it. There's the call in link. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you follow me on there. Drop me a line. And I'll see you guys there tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Be there or be triangle. Yeah, I will. I will stream it, Dan. But thanks for stopping by today, guys. And as always, let art and science inspire.